Good morning, everyone. This is the busiest time of year for birthdays of all the direct disciples. So I had to pick and choose which ones I like to talk about them. Sometimes I spoke about Swami Premananda earlier, and this morning I'll speak about Swami Saradananda, Sri Ramakrishna's Ganesha. This is the title of it. We'll get to that a little bit later. All of the direct disciples were huge, gigantic spiritual figures. Somebody once said that if any one of them had been born alone during that period, that one could have been the founder of a whole new spiritual movement. Each one was so great. And if we look for some type of evidence, if we feel like we need it, that Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother were somehow avatars or special spiritual souls that were born at that time, one of the best pieces of evidence is who were the group that were born with them. And we don't find anything similar to this, perhaps the life of Christ with his disciples, but just the fact that so many of such tremendous spiritual stature were born during that same period, we may say, well, because of the touch of Sri Ramakrishna or Holy Mother, but he touched many people. They had to have something special. That to me, this is one of the best reasons for us to look upon all of this as some divine play. Part of this whole divine play. And for some reason, many of them were born during this period between Holy Mother's birthday and Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. Almost half of them, and if we include Swami Premananda, so a huge number of them, mostly within a few years of each other. The Swamiji was 1863. A few of them were a couple years older than he was. Swami Shivananda, 8 years older. Swami Advaitananda, many years older. And then there's some who were a few years younger also. But so many of them came at that time that it's really something very, very special. I like to think of this necklace of gems that Yama tried to tempt Nachiketa with when he was trying to get out of telling him about the nature of the self, that all of the direct disciples, there's like a necklace with all different types of gems of all different colors and different shapes and different forms, because they were all different, but they were all gems. So this morning I will talk a little bit about our Swami Saradananda, who played a very, very significant role in the history of the Ramakrishna order, his connection, of course, with Holy Mother, his writing of the Lila Prasanga, the great master, and for his really looking after the whole Ramakrishna mission as his general secretary for so many years. So his character and his presence are something remarkable. We read in the Gita about the Sthita Prajna, the sage of steady wisdom, and sometimes we wonder are there really souls like that don't get upset for anything, no highs, no lows? And we look at all of the direct disciples. He's the only one that really fits that description better than any of the others. We may not say that this is the very final proof of anything, that Swamiji was a highly emotional person. Others, they displayed different types of traits, but if we just go by that Sthita Prajna, that equanimity and not getting upset with anything, then he's really the best example we have of all the direct disciples. So how did this happen? When these great souls come, it's like a huge planet with all of the moons circling around it. They all seemed to come together. Swamiji said that the touch of Sri Ramakrishna, he said he could have taken the dust of the earth and thrown it out. There would be 1,000 Vivekanandas that could be born from that. But these were all special souls. There was something so we learn a lot by looking at the lives of all of them. We understand that spirituality manifests itself in different ways. And there was nothing monolithic about any of his disciples. They all had their own special features. They were all cut from a different kind of mold. And the Swami Saradananda, as I say, he was just the rock. He was just the steady one throughout. Sri Ramakrishna, of course, designated different disciples according to different categories, Ishvarakotis. He talked about them as those who will come each time that the avatar comes. These Ishvarakotis, these were Swamiji, Swami Brahmananda, Swami Yogananda, Swami Premananda, Swami Niranjanananda, and later Purna, who never became a monastic. Sri Ramakrishna mentioned all of them, but he used to say all of these boys, he would just point to them in general, they're all Nitya Siddhas. They're all born perfect. They're not born out of karma like others. So the Swami Saradananda will definitely be considered in that class and category. His birthday is coming day after tomorrow. So here we don't have any special type of puja for the other direct disciples. We put the picture out and we do a little offering in the morning along with the others. So Sharat was his pre-monastic name, Chakravarti, and he was born on December 23rd, 1865, the day before Christmas Eve. There'll be a lot of connections with Christianity in his life. And he first came to Sri Ramakrishna in October of 1883. So that means that slightly later than some of the others, there were many who came after him also, but Swamiji came, say Rakal came. Rakal, Swami Brahmananda, he came in 1881, and Swamiji came later in 1881. 1882 M came. So he came in October of 1883. He was a member of the Brahmo Samaj, as many of them were. And it was through Keshav and the Brahmo Samaj and the writings that they did that many heard of Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. And his cousin Shashi, who later became Swami Ramakrishnananda, lived in the same household, because very often those who lived outside of the big city will come into the big city for school. So they went to school together and they were there, and they had read this article about Sri Ramakrishna from the Brahmo Samaj, and there was also one in the Indian Mirror. So this is how they first heard about him, and they went to meet him. Now, I don't know if they had been members of the Brahmo Samaj earlier, but they don't seem to have known Rakal and Narendra at this time. I was always curious about that. But anyhow, we know that Sri Ramakrishna very often either would have a vision before the direct disciples came, or he would recognize them, or something would happen afterwards. So when the two of them came, this Shashi and Sharat, later Ramakrishnanandaji and Saradanandaji, then Sri Ramakrishna seemed to recognize them, not from any previous vision or anything like that, but immediately seeing them, he started to speak words of burning renunciation and about the monastic life, and so much so that one of them asked, "Sir, is it wrong to marry?" And for some reason, Sri Ramakrishna pointed to a book on the shelf. Now, he had some books in his room. There's also an interesting thing. He wasn't a book reader himself, but we know he had this Ashtabhakara Samhita. He had, what is the other one? Sadhana? Huh? Mukti Avtara Sadhana. It's a book mostly of quotations, Sanskrit quotations, and he must have had either a Bible or something with biblical quotes in it. So he asked them to take a book down from the shelf, how he knew where it was and what was written in it and what pages to turn to, but he asked them to do that and to read a passage quoting the words of Christ with regard to marriage. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb. There are some eunuchs, this will be brahmacharis, who were made eunuchs of men. There be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of the heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive. And then he asked them to read St. Paul. Now, I don't know how accurate this is, or did Sri Ramakrishna really know which is St. Paul and which is others? How familiar? We know at one period that he had, I think, Shambhu Malika read out to him from the Bible. And we know his memory was so fantastic. It's quite possible that he remembered these different passages. So he asked them to read this passage that said, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I, as a monastic. But if they cannot, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. Now, if it's more than coincidence, the reason why Sri Ramakrishna brings Christ into all of this became clear this is December 23rd, 1885. So this is Sharat's 20th birthday. So he's 20 years old, the day before Christmas Eve, and at that time, Sri Ramakrishna made a particular remark about these two cousins, Sharat and Shashi. He said, in a vision. So this will be a vision that he had after he met them. In a vision, I saw that Shashi and Sharat had been among the followers of Christ. Now, these are the only two that we find Sri Ramakrishna making any connection with some tradition outside of the Hindu tradition or Indian tradition. And for some reason, he had that feeling with them. And we also don't know if he identified them as particular disciples, apostles, but often we hear they're identified with Peter and Paul, and that Peter would be Swami Saradananda. Peter comes from a word that means rock. And Christ apparently made some statement, I will build my kingdom upon the rock of Peter, something like that. So we find that the two of them played a similar role in this Ramakrishna Leela that Peter and Paul played in the life of Christ. Yeah, because Christ himself said about Peter, upon this rock I will build my church. And Sharat really became the rock of our monastic order, on which the Ramakrishna mission rested for 30 years, up until his passing away in 1927. And somehow Sri Ramakrishna knew all of this. There was another incident that in Dakshineshwar, that one day Sri Ramakrishna went into an ecstatic mood, and he went over to Sharat and sat on his lap. And everyone was wondering, why is he doing this? And later he explained, I wanted to see how much weight he could bear. And this weight that he's bearing is not just the future Ramakrishna mission, but also the responsibility for Holy Mother. That'll become his crowning glory, his attendance on Holy Mother. So we know a little bit about his early life, that he was very gentle and quiet and very loving, very charitable, unselfish. Like Swamiji, he would give away all of his possessions to beggars and would nurse people who were ill. There was one instance of a neighbor's maidservant who fell ill, and in those days diseases were highly contagious and there weren't good remedies and people were afraid to go near these people. But just as a boy, he went and he nursed her. And so this was the type of young man that he grew up into. And then, of course, after meeting Sri Ramakrishna, that was a turning point. We know that. Now, the relationship between Narendra, or Swami Vivekananda, and Sharat is also very interesting. They met one time, and this was a common thing, that not everybody was impressed with Narendra when they first met him. That sometimes he could appear a little bit aloof. He'll just be off on his own, whistling a tune, or then he'll start singing a song. So he didn't have a very good impression of him. And later, Sri Ramakrishna, he said, I want you to meet this Narendra. Now, how they didn't know each other from the Brahmo Samaj is a little surprising to me, but anyhow, so he saw, oh, this is that same guy. But they started talking a little bit, and then he said, I had no idea the real character of this Narendra, because he didn't care about public opinion. He didn't care what people thought about him. What was the thing that impressed Sri Ramakrishna? One of the first things when he saw Narendra, that he didn't care about his dress or how he looked or anything, indifferent to all of those things. At the same time, he had beautiful curly hair, would be combed sometimes, and sometimes he'd be having a smoke. They grew up with smoking tobacco in those days. So he was unpredictable that way. But this Sri Ramakrishna, he used to say that the housewife is the one in the family. She's the one who knows what lid goes with what pot. So Sri Ramakrishna would direct his disciples very often, why not keep company with this one? So Narendra and Bhavanat, for some reason, Sri Ramakrishna liked that comment. But he sent him this Sharat and Narendra, and they became such close friends. One of the first meetings that they had, I remember whose house it was, but maybe Sharat, they wanted to walk the other one home to their house. So they walked the whole way there. And so engaged in conversation, they said, oh, now you have to walk home, I'll walk with you. So it went back and forth a couple of times like that. So they had a very beautiful relationship. Swamiji sometimes would scold others, his direct disciples, his brother disciples also. But we don't find it so much with this Sharat. And it wouldn't work. That was the thing. That one time he gave him a good scolding, and Swami Swahananda said, like nothing happened at all. And he said, what's wrong with you? Everybody else, they'll burst out in tears. They'll go to the roof and start pretending to meditate and everything, but nothing affected him. So people would get annoyed actually with him, that some dangerous thing would happen and he wouldn't be affected. So Swamiji used to say, what's wrong with you? You have the blood of a fish in your veins. What is it? Betki mach. Yeah. What is it? No, not Pangal mach. Betki mach. Yeah, anyhow. Or sometimes the blood of a frog, you would say, something like that. Yeah, that means his blood would never boil over. He was cold-blooded, something like that. So this Sharat, he was a good student. He was encouraged to study medicine. His father had a pharmacy, and everything was going along fine. But then, when Sri Ramakrishna became ill with his cancer and was moved to Kashipur, and then he also took that vow along with the other direct disciples to serve him. And they all forgot about their studies. They forgot about everything after that. So he more or less moved into the Kashipur garden house with the others to look after Sri Ramakrishna. And after the passing away, there was no choice for most of them immediately except to go home. So he went home until the Baranagar Mutt was purchased, and as soon as that possibility was there, then he went there to stay there. And most of you know that no matter how spiritual the parents are, the last thing they want to see is their son become a monk. It's a very strange thing. It was nice, somebody else's son becomes a monk, it's a wonderful thing. But no, let my son marry and have children and give grandchildren and everything. So they locked him up in his room when they saw that he wanted to go out. How they do that, I don't know, but this interesting parallel with Swamiji's grandfather. You know that story, that he, after the birth of one son, he went off to be a wandering monk. Somebody found him, and they forcefully brought him back home and kept him in his room, and he wouldn't do anything, eat or drink or anything. So one day they just left the door open, and he left, and they never saw him again. So this only made his longing greater and greater to renounce everything. Then his younger brother one day saw, what's the point of all this? And he unlocked the door and then shut it, went straight to the new monastery and never to return to worldly life. Now, by the time the Belur Math is there, now he becomes Swami Saradananda. So monastic life, this is the next phase of his life, and he joined the others in Belur Math, and like the others, he also took to his wandering life, visiting one pilgrimage place to another, spending his time in intense austerities. We read about the Belur Math days, and it's hard to us to imagine how from early morning they'll be involved in meditation and japa and everything. Sometimes the whole day will go, and his cousin, Shashi, Swami Ramakrishna, he'll have to shake them so that they'll come and eat some food. The whole day will go just in spiritual practice. So the Swamiji used to say that demons would have run away in fear if they'd seen what we were doing. Yeah, it was so intense, that type of renunciation. But they felt a desire after some time to go and wander, live the traditional life of the wandering monk. Here is where we start to see this trait of incredible calmness in the face of any problem or difficulty or even danger. Because there are several times this wandering life where you're outside, there are wild animals and everything, and thieves. It wasn't such a safe thing all of the time. So there was one time when he felt that death was imminent. He was lost in a jungle, and in those days, the tigers and leopards and other things were commonplace. So he simply sat down on a large rock and began to meditate. No sign of any type of anxiety or worry on his face. And he said, it's better to die repeating God's name. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. So this is something that we see on several different occasions. One time their carriage broke down and everybody's almost thrown overboard, over a cliffside and everything. He is not affected at all. And there was another incident. They were in a boat, and it was about to capsize. And he's sitting there just smoking a hookah and everything. Somebody got so angry at him, they took the hookah and threw it overboard. They said, what's wrong with you? We're about to die. Oh, well, getting upset. How would that help anything? Yeah. So that was his attitude towards things. He explained the source of this calmness that he had one time. He said, by the grace of the Master, this was the result of an experience he had in Rishikesh. He said, by the grace of the Master, henceforth I have separated myself from the mind. The vagaries of the mind will not be able to delude me anymore. I am, as it were, the witness. So he was established in that witnessing consciousness. Whatever happened to body and mind and everything was something separate from him. He was just the observer of everything. While everyone is wandering around in India, all of the direct disciples, Swamiji himself felt a call to go to the West. So we know about his great success, the Parliament of Religions, and also spent some time in England and felt the need for some of his brother monks to come and help in the work. So we know that a good number of the other monks went, that Swami Turiyananda, Swami Saradananda, of course, Swami Vedananda, Swami Trigunatitananda, I think these are the ones, of these. I said, didn't I say Vedananda? Yeah. Twice, Vedananda, yeah. So, yeah, he actually came twice. or else he stayed longer than any of the others. So anyhow, he wanted Swami Saradananda to come specially, and none of them were anxious. This was an austerity for all of them. But everything depended on what Holy Mother said. Now she was the final word for everything. And he went to her seeking her advice, that Swamiji is asking me to go to the West to help. What do you think, Mother? And she immediately said, don't worry, my child, go to the West. The Master will protect you and will be with you wherever you go. So it was this, but also, this is another very remarkable thing. They're all brother disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. They're all equal on one level. And at the same time, Swamiji had the final word, if Holy Mother agreed, he had the final word for all of them. That we'll see with his cousin, Swami Ramakrishna, how while everyone is wandering, he only stayed to perform worship of Sri Ramakrishna. Everybody thought that how can he ever give this up? So attached to this worship of a Thakur. But as soon as Swamiji said, I want you to go to Madras, he agreed. So they really looked upon Swamiji's word as the will of Sri Ramakrishna. And at the same time, they were all strong, independent personalities. So he went. He left for England in 1896. And this is when it was a big boat, and there was a huge storm, and the ship was being rocked from side to side, and everyone is panicking, and he's perfectly steady and calm. Nothing that affected him at all. And another interesting thing is that on this trip, they stopped in Rome. And Swami Saradananda went to visit St. Peter's Cathedral. And standing there, he went into some type of ecstatic mood and lost all outer consciousness for some time. And as if that association came back into his mind, that he remembered something from previous life. What exactly he saw and experienced, we don't know, but it is very significant how Sri Ramakrishna's words can be so accurate with regard to something like that. There's some connection with the life of Christ. So he spent some time in England, then went to New York at Swamiji's request. He spent time in New Jersey, other places. He was very much appreciated and beloved wherever he went, and very sweet personality, and just that calmness affected everybody. You could feel it. You sat in a room with him, you would feel that tremendous calmness that he had. Sarah Bull was especially devoted to him also. But when Swamiji went back and to establish, one of the reasons to establish the Ramakrishna Math in Mission, this is in 1897, May 1st, 100 years before the founding of our center. That they had that meeting at Balaram Bose's house. And then he felt that the Swami Saradananda had to come back, and that he would be the one who would be the rock. Not to make him the president, but more the general secretary, you could say, of the order. And so after 2.5 years in the West, then he came back at Swamiji's request, and he remained in that position for 3 decades until his death. When Swami Ramananda passed away, they had a system where they would elect the next president of the order. And we know that Swami Shivananda Mahapurush Maharaj became the next president, but actually everybody wanted him. And it was some kind of election or something, and unanimously they wanted him to be the next president. But again, Swamiji's word, Swamiji said, you remain as the general secretary, we save the order. So he said, Swamiji said that, I'll remain that way. And then Swami Shivananda became president of the order. So in the midst of all of that, and we'll see, looking after Holy Mother, still he continued with his spiritual practice. For some reason, he had a desire to do some type of tantric practices. Don't confuse this with any left-handed stuff. This is some very traditional things. Sri Ramakrishna also did these things. He got permission from Holy Mother and also Swami Ramananda, and he spent long hours in japa and meditation and other types of tantric rituals. Don't know exactly what it was, and he developed tremendous appreciation for worship of Shakti and Divine Mother. All of this we can say some type of preparation for looking after Holy Mother herself. And later he wrote a book in Bengali on mother worship in India. And he even gave tantric sannyasa to who? To Bharati Prana, somebody. Anyhow. So in the preface to this book, Bengali book, he wrote in dedication, by whose gracious glance the author has been able to realize the revelation of divine motherhood in every woman. So this will be the other outstanding feature of his life. To her lotus feet this work is dedicated in all humility and devotion. So to me this is very significant because the final portion of his life will all be connected with Holy Mother. We know that after the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, that several different direct disciples became her attendants. Swami Yogananda, Swami Niranjanananda to a certain extent, Swami Trigunatitananda to a certain extent, but Swami Saradananda for the longest period. And during this period, somehow he did his spiritual practice and was able to write this Leela Prasanga, this Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. And this was also due to his devotion, not only for Sri Ramakrishna, but for Holy Mother, because money had to be raised to build a new house for her in Jardambati. And one of the ways he could do it was by writing this. So while this early period is going on, all the monks are wandering around, nobody knew the difficulties that Holy Mother was facing at that time. Sri Ramakrishna had asked her, after his passing away, he said, once I'm gone, you go live in Kamarpukur with his side of the family. And she did that out of obedience to him, but there was nobody there who cared for her. And she didn't dress or act like the typical Brahmin widow. She had still, Thakur told her to keep the bangles, and she had a little red border and everything. She was criticized highly. She had no company there. She was really miserable there. And nobody knew about it. Then somehow, finally, Swamiji, Swami Niranjanananda, and Girishko, somehow some of them found out about it. And at some point, Holy Mother was persuaded to go to Jardambati, where her side of the family was, and she could live there. But now they knew that she had to be taken care of, and they wanted to find a place for her in Kolkata so that she could stay there. She stayed in different places at different times, rented places and everything. But this present Mayabadi, Holy Mother's Udbodhan building, that was purchased, and that had to be all paid for. And the Swami Saradananda, he took all of this responsibility, taking loans and having it built, and everything for the sake of Holy Mother. Swamiji himself, some of the others, they were all tremendously devoted to Mother. But the Swami Saradananda, he's the one who really took that type of responsibility. Now, I want to get back to this idea of Ganesha. Why do we connect him with Ganesha? That the connection that Sri Ramakrishna made with him had nothing to do with Ganesha. Right? It had to do with disciple of Christ. And this statement that he was Sri Ramakrishna's Ganesha was actually made by Holy Mother. That she's the one who somehow made that connection. And it's interesting on several levels. One thing, he had a big pot belly. He became big like Ganesha. And other thing was Ganesha is known for his tremendous devotion to his mother, the Divine Mother. So the few things that we read about Ganesha that Thakur talked about, Sri Ramakrishna used to mention a couple of different things about Ganesha, and all connected with his devotion to his own mother. That one story was that as a boy, Ganesha was playing with a cat, and a little rough with the cat and throwing it around, and got some bruises and bumps and things and everything. So later he went to see his mother, Divine Mother, and saw she also had scratches and bruises and things. And he said, "Oh, what happened?" She said, "It's because of that cat." And he said, "Oh, what, did the owner come and do this to you?" And he said, "No, don't you know, my child, I dwell within the cat as well. What you did to the cat now is appearing on my body." So then, this Ganesha, he felt that, yes, Divine Mother dwells equally within all females, all women, and Shiva within all men. This was a very strong belief with him. And when it was time for marriage, they wanted to arrange a marriage for Ganesha, and he said, "How is it possible? Every woman that I see as my own mother. How can I possibly marry?" So he became lifelong brahmachari, we can say. The other story, these are both well-known stories, that Divine Mother also had a necklace that she wanted to give. She had two sons, this Kartik and Ganesha, and she said, "Whoever can go all around the world and come back, whoever does it first will get the present." So Kartik, he was a strong person, and he had a peacock and everything. So he starts off quickly. He's sure that he's going to win. Ganesha's big, fat, and plodding and everything. But very slowly, Ganesha goes and walks around his mother and comes back, because the whole world dwells within the Divine Mother. He had that understanding and that wisdom. So she was very pleased and gave him the necklace. And then Kartik came back and said, "What is this? How did this happen?" So these are the two stories that both have to do with his recognition of divinity of Divine Mother and Mother dwelling within all beings. So we see with Sharat Maharaj that how important this was to him. Also, Ganesha plays some role as a scribe for Vyasa, for writing things down, and he's the one who wrote down all of the life story.
Common sense.
And common sense, yeah. And common sense and calmness. Ganesha also didn't get upset about it. So in many ways, yeah, we see this connection between them. But the most important aspect we'll see is this great devotion that Swami Swahananda had for Holy Mother. And they say that you went there, and day and night he would sit in this little room with his little table in front of him, writing, just spending, and at the same time managing the whole household, full of women also. Yeah, Holy Mother and some of her crazy relatives, nieces and other things, and Golap Ma was not easy to to live with. Yogin Ma a little bit better, but so how he managed all of these things, all the affairs of the order, and did all of this writing at the same time. And his Leela Prasanga, now we have it as Sri Ramakrishna and his Divine Play, a new translation by Swami Chaitanya. It's a masterpiece, because it's not an ordinary biography. He explains all of the intricate details of the philosophy and emotional elements to all of the experiences of Sri Ramakrishna. And he said that he himself had experienced that. He didn't write anything outside of the realm of his own experience. It's a remarkable statement to me. Yeah. So he had that devotion for Holy Mother. She also looked upon him as really the one person that she could rely on. She used to say, "He alone can handle my burden." So somebody said, "What about Swami Brahmananda?" He was considered, Swamiji was gone, he was considered the spiritual giant of the order. And she said, "No, my child, he's cut from a different cloth. He has a different nature. He won't be able to do all of this. Only my Sharat can do that." So they had this very, very a special relationship. When Holy Mother was in Jagannathi and they said, please come back to Kolkata, she would say, is Sharat there? And if they said, no, Mother, he's traveling, she said, no, I can't think of going there unless he's there. Yeah. When she was in the village, sometimes he would go visit, but generally at that time he would be staying there. And there are two very beautiful incidents. One, I think it took place in Kowalpara, when Holy Mother was suffering from high fever. And there was nothing that they could do to relieve her pain and everything. And the Swami Swahananda was there, and the body was cool, because he was so cool, and lying on this the stone and everything. So she would put her hands on his body, and that would cool that burning feeling. A very sweet thing. And Holy Mother practiced the custom of remaining veiled. We know that she was very, very shy, and this was also not just her, it was a common thing. We hear, I think it was Swami Ramakrishna and his mother that remained veiled even in front of him. So there's something like that. So when she was in Jagannathi, she could go about unveiled. That was the custom. But when any visitors came from the big city, she would also veil herself. So he never saw her face also, this Swami Saradananda, and he used to be annoyed here. He's serving her day and night. So he used to say, am I her father-in-law, that she has to remain veiled in front of me? But towards the end of Holy Mother's life, when she had no appetite at all, and they were trying to force her to eat, they would almost open her mouth, stick things and everything. She got so angry and annoyed that finally she said, "Call Sharat." So he came, and probably the first time that he actually saw her face, because he got to feed her. And he said, "Oh, now, Mother, take a little bit." And he put it in her mouth and everything. She was so pleased. She said, "See how sweetly he talks to me and everything." So very touching incidents in this play between the two of them. The Holy Mother once said about Swami Swahananda, "Sharat is not an ordinary knower of Brahman. He does not simply see Brahman in all beings. He sees me in all female beings and Thakur in all male beings." Just like we heard about with Ganesha. "You will not find another heart like his. It is second only to Naren's." So, our Swami Vivekananda. Swami Sheshanandaji, disciple of the Holy Mother, who lived in Udbodhan with Swami Saradananda, he expressed to Holy Mother his desire to serve her. And she said, "No, my child, rather serve my child Sharat. If you remain with him and serve him with unswerving devotion, you will attain knowledge of Brahman. Whoever will serve Sharat like that will reach the highest goal." I'll finish with one very nice story showing the compassion of Swami Saradananda. He didn't make a show of anything, so he's not like Swamiji, where we'll find him weeping all night long. He can't sleep because he kept everything within, but he also had tremendous compassion. One day, one of the young monks saw Swami Saradananda leave the Udbodhan house after his afternoon rest. The monk asked him where he was going, and he said that he had a little work to do. Then he left the building and went away. The young monk became curious. We remember when Swami Yogananda, Yogin, became curious, where is Ramakrishna going this odd hour? Is he going to see the Holy Mother? Some funny idea came into his mind. So the young monk became curious and followed him to see where he was going. Swami Saradananda walked some distance and then entered into a slum area. The young monk secretly followed him at a slight distance. Swami Saradananda entered a small hut, and the monk watched him from nearby. he could see within the room a man, just skin and bones, lying on a cot, coughing violently. Swami Swahananda asked how he was, and the man said, "See for yourself." Then Swami Saradananda said sweetly, "But you look better than before. Have you been taking the medicine like you're supposed to? It looks like you finished all the fruit." The man replied, "I have been eating the fruit and taking the medicine, but no matter how hard you try, how much medicine you give me, and how much fruit you feed me, I know I won't recover from this illness." Then Swami Swahananda replied in a voice filled with affection, "Who said you won't get better? You will become fully recovered. I'm leaving some more medicine and fruit. Please take them at the proper time." Hearing his words, the man began to weep and said, "Maharaj, you are not a mere mortal, you are a god. Out of fear of my disease, my own relatives have deserted me, and you come here and sit by my side without any hesitation or fear, and make all arrangements for my medicine and diet." Meanwhile, this young monk is outside, listening to all of this, and he couldn't help himself. He ran into the room and fell at the feet of Swami Saradananda, and he said, "I've committed a great sin. I had terrible doubts about you. Please forgive me." Swami Saradananda meant nothing to him. He simply said, "Rather than let the doubt fester in your mind, you've sought out the solution. You've done well. This type of attitude is what is needed." So this was the nature of Swami Saradananda. And as I say, his birthday will be on Tuesday. So it's nice to set aside our high Vedantic philosophy every once in a while and just think about the personality of these great souls. This is one thing that I'm convinced of, that our tradition has not simply produced spiritual giants, but they've produced men and women of tremendous personality. How this spirituality manifests in such a sweet way is something really remarkable. And all of them a little bit different. So we see with the Swami Saradananda, there's a perfect calmness and quietness, and at the same time there's tremendous love and tremendous compassion. So we can now just take a few minutes to sit quietly.